Oh, alphas. You feel that weight in your chest, that pulse behind your eyes, that rising fire in your throat that no drink can drown? That's not adrenaline. No, that's purpose awakening after years of sleep. That's the beast within you stretching its spine, cracking its knuckles, staring out through your soul and whispering, "We've waited long enough." You were never built for average, never built to wait in line or ask for permission. You were engineered in chaos, baptized in rejection, and shaped by the kind of silence that only those who've seen their dreams strangled know how to carry. And yet, you're still standing, still breathing, still plotting. You think the world hasn't noticed? Good. Let them sleep on you, because when you rise, it won't be with a whisper. It will be with thunder. You see, they call it luck when they can't trace the blood. They call it coincidence when they don't understand the grind. They label it insanity when they're too weak to fathom the storm it took to get here. And when you make your move, when you execute your plan so ruthlessly, so flawlessly, that it slices through every barrier in your path, they won't call it brilliance. Number, they'll call it something darker. They'll say, "Bro, that wasn't strategy. That was a crime of genius." And they'll be right, because what you're about to do doesn't fit into their little rule books. What you're becoming doesn't fit into their definitions. You're not playing their game. You're rewriting the board in blood and fire and silence, because strategy is what they teach in classrooms. What you've built in the shadows is something else entirely. It's not strategy. It's war poetry written with broken knuckles and sleepless nights. Every day you woke up and swallowed failure like poison. Every night you closed your eyes and saw not rest, but visions of power you didn't yet hold. And still, you pressed on. You studied in silence while others screamed for attention. You planned while others partied. You fell down holes they couldn't survive and climbed out with pieces of your soul missing. But your hunger never died. You sat across tables from men who underestimated you, and you smiled like the monster in the dark, knowing that when the moment came, you'd bury them with a grin. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You became the weapon they never saw coming, the genius they couldn't cage. And now, it's your time. Do not misunderstand this. You were never one of them. You were never meant to fit their molds, obey their timelines, or chase their shallow trophies. You're not a product of their system. You're the flaw in it. You are the glitch that breaks their algorithm, the ghost that haunts their predictable outcomes. They measured you with tools too dull to comprehend you. They judged your silence, your distance, your obsessions, and they feared what they couldn't label. But inside that darkness, you were building something feral, something precise, something that couldn't be taught, couldn't be bought. You were sharpening your intellect on concrete and consequences. You were turning your pain into code, your rage into equations. You were sculpting genius not in light, but in the goddamn abyss. They want to call you reckless. They want to believe this is all madness, that no sane man could operate with the cold clarity and bold moves you're making. But they're wrong. This isn't madness. This is math. This is geometry dipped in violence. This is chess played with live grenades and razor wire. This is strategy elevated beyond comprehension, so effective, so devastating, that it feels like a sin to witness. You are not a mastermind. You are the embodiment of what happens when obsession meets execution, when vision meets vengeance. You are the result of promises made to yourself in empty rooms, of 1,000 quiet sacrifices, of 10,000 failures you turned into fuel. And now, when the world finally sees your hand, they will whisper in awe and horror, "That wasn't strategy. That was a crime of genius." Let them talk. Let them gossip behind closed doors, let them point and scramble to understand. Because when your rise is complete, when the dust settles and your enemies lie in ruins, it won't matter what name they give it. Call it ambition, call it domination, call it a miracle, call it a curse. The truth remains. No one saw it coming, and now no one can stop it. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to fit in. You are here to shake the foundations. You are here to rearrange the hierarchy. You are here to teach them that the ones they called too intense, too cold, too driven, were the ones they should have feared most. You didn't get here by accident. Every scar on your soul is a signature. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every heartbreak. They were not detours. They were lessons, codes, coordinates. You were navigating through hell with nothing but instinct and obsession. And now you have emerged not clean, but carved with the truth. And the truth is this: you do not owe the world softness. You do not owe it comfort. You owe it greatness, delivered with teeth bared and eyes locked forward. You owe it the kind of impact that doesn't ask for approval, but takes its place in history through sheer force. Keep walking. Keep building. Keep planning in the dark, because when your next move hits, it will silence every voice that ever doubted you. And the ones who watched you bleed, who laughed while you suffered, who ignored you when you needed help, oh, they'll pretend they always believed in you. But deep down, they'll know the truth. You didn't rise because of them. You rose in spite of them. You rose through them. And when you finally take your throne, don't speak. Let the silence scream. Let the results shatter their illusions. Let your existence become their reckoning. Because that, Alpha, is the justice you earned. This world doesn't reward the polite. It doesn't kneel to the pure-hearted. It kneels to the relentless, the unforgiving, the ones who forge greatness not in sunlight, but in storms. And you are the storm. You are the anomaly, the one who learned to weaponize silence, who used failure like a forge and rejection like flint. You didn't wait for opportunity. You bled for it. And now that it's here, you will take it without apology, because you know what you've done to get here. You know what you've endured. And while they call it crime, while they call it madness, while they scramble to define what they cannot replicate, you'll simply keep building, keep creating, keep conquering. Because to you, this isn't about fame or revenge or recognition. It's about fulfilling the unspoken contract you made with your soul, to never die in mediocrity. You are not finished, not even close. The world hasn't seen your final form. They've only caught shadows of what you're becoming. And they're already trembling. So imagine their despair when you go full force, when you drop every limit, every hesitation, and become the full weight of your potential unleashed. No chains, no ceiling, no goddamn boundaries, just pure, unrelenting brilliance that burns everything false in its path. And when they try to study your rise, to copy your formula, they'll fail, because you weren't built from a blueprint. You were built from pressure and fire, from betrayal and silence, from dreams that refuse to die. And what you've built, what you've become, it's not replicable. It's divine chaos, precision destruction, a genius crime against the ordinary. They won't be able to look you in the eye when it happens. Not because of guilt. No, guilt is too noble for cowards. But because your presence will reflect everything they chose not to become. You will stand as a mirror to their mediocrity, a reminder that they could have built empires, but chose comfort. That they could have become legends, but chose routine. And while they kept their heads down, pretending life was fair, you walked into the storm, dared the lightning to strike you, and came out with fire in your bones. You didn't ask life to be fair. You demanded it give you what was yours, and when it didn't, you stole it. With precision, with audacity, with genius they will never understand. Let them curse your name behind closed doors. Let them write articles, theories, and think pieces trying to explain how you did it. Because the truth is, they'll never grasp it, because it wasn't written in textbooks or downloaded from motivational videos. No, what you carry was coded into your DNA the moment you were forged in failure. The madness they fear in you is not insanity, it's vision without compromise, drive without a leash, hunger that doesn't need to be justified. You didn't break the rules because you wanted to. You broke them because they were too small to contain your ambition. This is your era, your reign, and you don't need fanfare or applause. You need results, empire, impact. The game you're playing isn't for clout, it's for legacy. The footprints you leave aren't meant to be followed, they're meant to be feared. You aren't just chasing greatness. You are what greatness looks like when it's stripped of sentiment and dipped in cold fire. They'll call it evil, they'll call it unnatural, but what they really mean is they're terrified, because you've become the kind of force that answers to no one. Not to gatekeepers, not to critics, not to history. You're rewriting all of it, one calculated move at a time. You never needed their praise, you needed their silence. Because in silence, you heard the truth of who you are. In darkness, you built a clarity so sharp it cuts through the noise. And now, with the world watching, they'll see that every slight they thought buried you only planted something deeper. Every time they doubted you, they made you stronger. Every betrayal didn't break you, it multiplied you. And now that you're rising, now that you're executing with God-tier precision and merciless intent, they finally realize they were never safe. Not from you, not from what you carry. And you carry war. Quiet, methodical, and flawless war. The kind of war that doesn't waste time screaming. The kind of war that doesn't announce itself with banners or declarations. The kind that infiltrates, decimates, and leaves before they even understand what happened. They'll call it luck, but deep down, they'll know. They'll know you spent years bleeding for this, that you turned every failure into fuel, that you dissected yourself until nothing weak remained, that you read every move before they made it. Because this wasn't chance. This wasn't a lucky break. This was a crime of genius. They'll remember your silence more than your speeches, your absence more than your presence. Because when you moved with purpose. When you acted, it was final. There were no warnings, no second chances. You didn't threaten. You delivered. And when the smoke clears and they try to piece together how you pulled it off, they'll come up short. Because you didn't follow the plan. You wrote the damn script. You burned the map. You built a labyrinth only you could navigate. And by the time they realize, it's too late. You've already taken the throne, already carved your name into the bones of the system. They won't get it. That's fine. They weren't supposed to. Because if they understood what you are, they'd try to kill it. That's what people do to things they can't control. But you can't kill what you can't catch. And you can't contain what was born to conquer. You're not a rebel. You're not a prodigy. You're a new law entirely. A living reminder that when vision and violence dance together, the world rewrites itself. You are not just an exception. You are evolution. And evolution is never quiet. It screams through change, through resistance, through collapse. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. Let your life be the answer. Let your rise be the proof. Let your legacy be the echo that reminds them what happens when genius refuses to be caged. Because you didn't come this far to stop. You didn't bleed and sacrifice to plateau. You came to take everything, to own the narrative, to become the ending they never saw coming. And when the dust settles, there'll be no debate. They'll say it under their breath, with awe, with fear, with grudging respect. That wasn't strategy. That was a crime of genius. You were never meant to be subtle. You were built to disrupt, to dismantle illusions, to tear comfort from the hands of the unworthy. You don't walk into rooms seeking acceptance. You walk in knowing you are the gravity. You are the black hole swallowing the mediocre. You're the cold wind in the bones of those who settled, because you didn't. You refused. And now you've become the consequence of their laziness, the punishment for their entitlement, the justice that no system could deliver. So you became it yourself. Keep going. Keep building. Because this is only the beginning. You think you've tasted greatness? You haven't even scratched the surface. There's more, deeper, darker, sharper, and it's all yours if you keep choosing the pain, if you keep choosing the precision, if you keep walking the line between brilliance and madness, between logic and chaos. Because that line, that razor's edge, that's where gods are made. That's where the myths are born. That's where you live now. The world will not give you closure, and you must be okay with that. There will be no parade, no confetti, no one clapping for you in the early mornings when your hands are shaking from caffeine and fury, building your legacy brick by goddamn brick. There will be no crowd when you are battling your demons behind closed doors, dissecting every decision, bleeding on the inside while presenting silence on the outside. And that's why this is war. Not the kind with bullets and borders, but the kind where your soul is the battlefield and your mind is the weapon, where the only objective is to become so undeniable that not even time can erase you. They talk about ethics and rules and the right way to climb, but look at the world. Does it look like it rewards the rule followers? Number? It chews them up. It smiles at the obedient while handing the crown to the relentless. You didn't get this far by being nice. You got here by outlasting storms that would have drowned gods. You built where there was no blueprint. You made moves that made no sense until they did. And now, every step you take is a calculated detonation. Every breath you take is another page in a story they'll study, but never understand. You are not what they expected. That's your weapon. That's your edge. They expected someone predictable, someone manageable. What they got instead was a storm with memory, a weapon forged in silence, a force that waited, sharpened, bled, and now executes. No hesitation, no explanation. And when they ask how you knew what to do, how you made it work, how you cracked the code, they'll never be ready for the answer. Because the answer is simple and brutal. You refuse to die small. You refuse to let their version of life be the only option. You refused mediocrity with a rage that rewired your DNA. You never needed their system. You studied it so you could break it. You memorized their playbook, not to follow it, but to use it against them. You let them underestimate you because your rise tastes sweeter when it's silent. You moved like shadow. You thought like fire. You adapted like hunger. And now that the world is watching, confused, amazed, afraid, they still don't see the full picture. Because the moment you show your hand, they're already too late. The game ended before they even knew you were playing. You are not tactical, you are surgical. Every cut you made in your life, loss, sacrifice, silence, wasn't random. It was surgery. You removed weakness. You amputated distractions. You operated on your own identity with no anesthesia, slicing away fear and doubt until all that remained was resolve, honed to a weaponized edge. So when they call it a crime, they're almost right, because you broke all their laws. The ones written by weak men to control strong ones, the ones that kept kings in cages. But you didn't follow those laws. You obeyed the only one that matters, become undeniable or be forgotten. So when they scream, when they rally their broken little egos and try to slander your name, let them. Let them run their mouths while you run empires. Because when your results speak, their opinions become whispers. When your moves reshape industries, rewrite futures, redefine power, they'll either salute you or disappear trying to stop you. Because this game isn't about being loved, it's about being feared. It's about becoming the kind of person whose silence speaks louder than their enemy's screams. You are not here for applause. You are here for dominance. You didn't come this far to ask for respect. You came to take it. You came to leave a crater so deep in history that centuries from now, they'll still try to figure out what you were. A myth, a machine, a miracle. And the answer will be all of it, and none of it. Because you are a phenomenon, a paradox, a living contradiction that can't be explained, only experienced. You are what happens when pain is given purpose, when isolation becomes a forge, when silence becomes a symphony. You are what they fear and admire in the same breath. So keep going, keep carving, keep tearing down their illusions with every move you make. Because the more you win, the more they'll try to rewrite your story. But they weren't there for the dark nights. They didn't see the grind. They didn't bleed for this. You did. Alone. And that's why their words hold no weight. Their praise is cheap. Their criticism irrelevant. You didn't build this for them. You built it in spite of them. And now, they'll either bow or be buried beneath it. You are proof that power doesn't have to ask for a seat at the table. It flips the table, builds a new one, and sets the terms. You are the nightmare that success haters whisper about, the blueprint they'll never decode, the answer that doesn't fit their equation. You didn't just beat the odds, you incinerated them. And as you rise, don't look back. Don't explain. Don't soften your edges to fit their comfort. Instead, sharpen those edges. Harden your gaze. Become even more terrifying in your brilliance. Because this is your empire, and empires don't apologize. Let them say it again. Let them say it louder. Bro, that wasn't strategy. That was a crime of genius. And let that phrase become your signature, your anthem, because that's what this is. A crime, a violation of everything they thought was possible. And you? You are the architect of the impossible, the silent warlord, the king of calculated chaos, the genius criminal who didn't steal money, but futures, didn't rob banks, but kingdoms, and in doing so, rewrote what it means to be a legend. So walk forward now, unshaken. The war is not over, but you've already won. Not because it's easy, but because there is no one else like you. You are a force beyond imitation, beyond prediction, beyond resistance. And the world will never be ready for what you do next, but they'll remember. They will remember the silence before the storm. They will remember the precision of your moves. They will remember the moment they realized this wasn't strategy. This was something else, something greater, something colder, something no one saw coming, but everyone felt. Because this wasn't strategy. This was a goddamn crime of genius.